Letty and Albert here from Letty and Albert Go-Go, and Albert is going to give you some amazing suggestions, advice, recommendations so you have the most fun.
Today we're going to talk about getting ready for travel from a medical point of view. I feel comfortable talking to you about this today as a retired infectious disease physician. However, keep in mind, this is just our experience on how we prepared for international travel. This is not personal advice for you specifically. Please consult your physician, which will be part of the talk. But here's what we do to try to keep the journey as peaceful as possible. Because as you know, things happen and illness is one of them. So here's what you can do to prevent some of those complications. Travel preparation begins months in advance. Flights, hotels, tours, how are you going to get around, all that's important. So planning for medical complications begins just as early. The earlier, the better. Research, step number one, very important. Once you determine where you're going, and it's very important to keep this as specific as possible, not just an area, but also a specific country, a specific town, and which kind of facility. Are you going to be in a rural area? Are you going to be staying with friends? Are you going to be staying in a resort? What time of the year? These are all very important considerations before you start your medical travel planning. I recommend the following site, cdc.gov/travel. There's also some UK sites which we'll put in the link below. Once you educate yourself as to the potential complications and requirements, go ahead and make a doctor's appointment. It is very useful if you bring some of this information. Again, the specifics are very important. Next up, the dreaded doctor appointment. Again, bring in all your research and as much information as you can have. Part of your doctor's visit in preparation for travel will be vaccines. I like to divide vaccines into three categories: routine, recommended, and required. Let's go over these more carefully. First, routine vaccinations. These are the vaccines you should have had already. And this is a great opportunity, as we know, a lot of people put these off, to review what kind of vaccines you should already have. For instance, Tdap, which is your tetanus, diphtheria, and pertussis. Pertussis is whooping cough. It can really ruin your trip if you're not up to date. MMR, which is measles, mumps, and rubella. We know we've had a recent measles outbreak, especially in the US, but also internationally. It might pay to review this to make sure that you are immune. Others include COVID-19 vaccine, the flu vaccine. The next category that you'll be reviewing are the recommended vaccinations. These are the ones that are pertinent to the specific areas. You also have to keep in mind, and your doctor will discuss this with you, if you're taking any medications or have certain medical conditions, wherein some of these vaccinations may be contraindicated. These include, but not limited to, chikungunya, dengue, hepatitis A and B, Japanese encephalitis, rabies, especially if you're going to be working with animals or going spelunking, cave traveling, typhoid, cholera, and yellow fever. The final list of vaccines that you'll be discussing are the required vaccinations. These are the vaccines that are required by the specific countries that you'll be traveling to, and wherein you have to show proof of vaccination in order to get in. Some countries get very picky and require vaccinations even if that disease is not necessarily endemic in their region, but you have transited through a country where that disease is endemic. So this is where all your research will pay off, and you have to share this with your physician, exactly what the route will be and the places that you're going to be traveling through, because that may determine the vaccines that you need. I found out that one of the places that we were going to actually required a fresh measles vaccine. So that was important. We went ahead and got that and have it documented. We'd also traveled in the past to Peru and had already received the yellow fever vaccine, and this is up to date. This is required by a lot of destinations. We already have it. It's important to have your proof. Once you've had the discussion regarding vaccines with your physician, I believe the next useful step is to talk about your overall health. Most importantly, are you healthy enough for the type of travel that you are planning? I, for instance, had a stress test in preparation for travel. I've had some heart issues in the past. I wanted to make sure I wasn't going to drop dead. This becomes useful. It's also a good time to review all your prescription medications. A lot of times these kind of fall off. We never really keep our visits. So it's important as you travel abroad to make sure that you're on the right medicines and that you have enough of them. So make sure you have an adequate stash of your prescription meds with you as you begin your travel. The next very useful part of the conversation with your physician as you prepare for travel should be what we like to call the what ifs. Have a discussion with your physician as to what he or she feels you should have over-the-counter wise to treat some common ailments. Our bag includes, and I'll list them because it's extensive, Advil, Tylenol, Tums, Imodium, Pepto, see a pattern here? Benadryl, anti-itch cream, Dramamine, cough medicine. Remember, depending on where you're going to, a lot of these things may be available. So don't bring the whole bag. Just bring enough to hold you over a couple of days till you find an apotheke or a pharmacy where you can secure some of these products. The next part of the discussion should review what your doctor thinks you may have to carry with you prescription-wise. These are extra medications you're not currently on, but that may be useful if there are some of the complications that may be expected during travel. For instance, malaria. Depending on where you're going and the time of year and the specific area, again, it's very important to be very specific when you do your research and you have the discussion with your physician, because some areas within a country may be high risk for malaria while others not. So I'd hate for you to have to take this medicine unnecessarily. But if you are indeed going to an area that is high risk for malaria, you should definitely take the precautions. And this is a discussion the physician will have with you as to which medication will be best for you to take. Another class of prescription medications that may be useful to bring along would be antibiotics. We brought 3 antibiotics for us: Cipro, doxycycline, and azithromycin. It's important if you decide to carry these antibiotics that you use them as instructed by your physician and only when absolutely required.
Okay.
We find prescription medication for nausea to be very effective for us, especially if we're doing some cruising. Also, skin infection and rash prevention, and this is becoming very handy. We like to carry antibacterial cream, but also anti-itch cream and steroids in case of a significant allergic reaction. If part of your travel includes high altitude, there is a prescription medication that is available to reduce the effects of altitude sickness, and this might be a very important consideration to have with your physician to see if you qualify to obtain some of this medication. I think a final very important part of the visit is to gather your records. A lot of this will be required, and God forbid something happens, it might be very useful to have some of your previous medical information available that you could share with an ER or a physician if you get into trouble while you're traveling. So this includes, for us, included a copy of the medical record with our last physical exam and basic labs. Your vaccine record becomes very important, and I would definitely have paper copies of this because you may need to show this on entry to certain countries. List of all the medications that are prescribed. If you have an abnormal EKG, please go ahead and grab an old copy just to have with you, just in case. An additional eyeglass prescription. I almost lost my glasses at one point. It would have been very useful to have that with us. And don't forget your insurance card. International health insurance is very important. Topic for another discussion, but just bring that along as well. Now we're going to go into what I like to call travel smart. Let's review. What are the most common illnesses associated with international travel? Okay. Number 1, and by far, foodborne and waterborne illness. Trust me, this happens. At least it happens to me all the time. This is eating or drinking contaminated food and water. You might be staying in a beautiful resort, but if you're in the middle of Bali, Indonesia, you're at risk of getting Bali belly. Sometimes it's really hard to believe that water is so contaminated. The place looks beautiful. The water comes out of the faucet. You're careless. All of a sudden, next thing you know, you're brushing your teeth just like at home and you're rinsing with the water. That can get you. When you take a shower, close your mouth. Watch the ice. Listen, if you can't peel it, cook it, or boil it, don't eat it. We carry our water bottles with us, but remember, if you wash them, you're using their water. So this becomes quite a challenge. You're washing your bottles with bottled water. We also carry something that's very useful for us, and that's called the Life Straw. We'll have a link down below, and that is a simple straw looking, it's a little thicker, but basically filters all your water as you drink it. So this might be helpful to you as well. Another common illness associated with international travel is upper and lower respiratory tract infections. you're going to be exposed to a lot of people. We found that this is something that happens to us as well. Most of the time, it's a mild illness and you can treat comfortably with over-the-counter agents. If it becomes severe and you become concerned, please seek help or contact your physician. So the next category is vector-borne diseases. These are diseases that are transmitted normally by other very small organisms, mostly mosquitoes. Where we are in Southeast Asia, before we're heading to Australia, we know that one of the risk factors that you could acquire here are malaria, dengue, chikungunya, Zika, and not so much here, but in other places nearby, yellow fever. Guess what? These are all transmitted by mosquitoes. Be smart. Cover up. Long sleeves, long pants, especially if you're traveling during dawn and dusk. Next thing I'd like to talk about in our smart travel section is accidents. As you know, they happen. We've noticed that one of the most common mode of transportation here in Southeast Asia, where we are right now, is scooters. Listen, if you're older and don't drive a scooter at home and don't have any experience driving scooters, what makes you think you can drive a scooter on vacation? Be smart. Avoid accidents. Also, sidewalks are full of cobblestones and a lot of bumps. Make sure you're wearing the right shoes, and sometimes we found that walking sticks are actually quite helpful. Don't be embarrassed. Avoid falls. The older groups, like ourselves, gotta be smart as well. Those tours that you're interested in taking may be a little dangerous, so plan for your age. The last thing I wanted to discuss today, which I realize it's too important and needs its own separate video, is sexually transmitted infection prevention and medical tourism, which has become very popular lately. So stay tuned for that discussion. Now we're gonna wrap it up with our list of what our day pack looks like in order to keep your travel as safe and fun as possible. Okay. So I'll read from the list. This is pretty comprehensive and we'll put the copy of it down below. We have bandages, gauze, tape, band-aids. We have anti-itch, Benadryl cream and pills, which as you know has become very useful. Antibacterial cream as well. For Australia, we're gonna bring along some anti-jelly sting fluid liquid cream thing, which you can buy at the local dive store, by the way. Mosquito repellent, that's key for malaria prevention. Motion sickness medicine, which we're very prone to, not just on boats, but also on some of these drives that we've done lately. Rehydration, bottled water, as well as the IV, the liquid IV, which is the powder that I mentioned that you can add to your water. Tylenol and Advil, sanitizer, suntan lotion, especially in the tropics. Don't forget your hat. Tums. Sign up for the Smart Traveler Enrollment Program from the State Department. You can do it online. It's free and it gives you a lot of information in regards to the specific regions that you'll be traveling with. They know where you are, so in case something happens in the area that you're going to be, they can send you a heads up. We've had a couple of alerts in regards to volcanoes that have erupted recently in Indonesia. So far we're safe, but it's nice to know that, you know, somebody's looking out for you. And again, don't forget your insurance information, your insurance card, and make sure you have the coverage that you're comfortable with. Should something happen, you need to be evacuated or you need to be transported to a more reliable facility in an area where there's better medical care. So if you have any comments, if this was useful, please write them down below. Don't forget to like and subscribe. I hope this has been useful. This is what we do. No specific medical information for you personally, but this is what helps us. If it can help you, awesome. Hope that you have a very safe and enjoyable journey, and may peace be the journey.